Okay, so we're back to part two. This is the second video for the solubility. So we did solubility in water. We did magnetism, I think, already. We also did conductivity. And so this is the last part for the solubility. We'll do a separate video after this one for what the substances look like under a microscope. And that's actually pretty cool. We'll have individual pictures of the 8 substances under the microscope. So over here what we've got is isopropyl alcohol. And I put some isopropyl alcohol in each of the test tubes just like yesterday. This is not water, this is isopropyl. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put each of the substances in there as it's labeled before. So I'm going to take and put in the calcium carbonate, just a little bit of calcium carbonate in here, and we'll shake it up and look for the solubility. So shake it up, put it in there, and we'll see what we see, and you see what you see. So figure out if you think that that is soluble in that isopropyl alcohol. Going to do the same with the tartaric acid. So I'll come back to the tartaric acid. Oh my goodness. Okay. Put a little bit of tartaric acid in there. A little bit more tartaric acid in there. I can get my scoop to work. Drop that tartaric acid in the isopropyl. Shake it up a little bit. We'll see if that is dissolving in there. Tell you what, it's pretty obvious with the water before, but I'll go through all of these and then at the end we'll go back and look at them afterwards. So let that sit for a little bit and see what it does. So the next one was graphite. So we'll put the graphite in there, just a little bit of graphite. Put an awful lot in there last time, but that's all right. Graphite in there. We'll shake that up. Just take a look at that. We'll let it settle for a bit and then come back and look at it at the end. Next was copper. So I've got a little bit of copper in here. I'm skipping the scupula on this. I'm not afraid of the copper. Whoop! Not dropping it in there. Let's drop it in here. We'll drop a little copper in there. We'll shake it up. Can you see the bottom of it? Yeah. Okay, so the copper is in there. We'll come back and check that out at the end as well. And then aluminum. Take a little bit of aluminum on the scoop. Drop some aluminum in the isopropyl. Check that up a little bit. You can see what you see in the bottom there. And write down your observations whether you think these things are soluble or not. Next we'll do the lead. Well, this lead's just going to roll off this puppy. Let's see. It's a rolling. Woo! Okay, there's some lead. And I'll shake it up. You can see the lead down there in the bottom. Is it soluble in isopropyl? Can you hear it? You can probably even hear it. Okay, and then wax. A little bit of wax out of here, this nastiness. A little bit of wax in there. So wax and isopropyl alcohol. We'll come back and look at that in a couple minutes too. And then NaCl. A little bit of salt here. Place the salt in there. It's quite a bit of salt actually. That's okay. Quantifying our salt would have been a good idea, but that's okay. So we're putting the salt in there and see if it's dissolving. So let's go back and look at each one of them after they've sat for a little bit. Hasn't been very long, obviously, but we could do it at the, you know what, let's do it at the very end. Let's go do the other solvent, and then we'll go and look at all of them separately. That'd be a good idea. So the second solvent, or third solvent actually, we did water first, and then we just did isopropyl. This one is hexane. And so this is just a bunch of different hexanes kind of combined, C6H14. What we're going to do is take, and this is a nonpolar solvent. What we're going to do is we're going to put some of these in each one of these. I've already put enough hexane in each of these, about somewhere between 3 and 5 mils or so. So I'm going to put in the calcium carbonate into the hexane, and we will shake that up a little bit. And again, we'll have to kind of wait for this to either settle out or sit. You can kind of see what's happening already with that one. So there we go. And then the next one was tartaric acid. So I'll put a little tartaric in there too. Tartaric in there. We'll shake that up and see if the tartaric dissolves in there. Kind of see the solid sitting on the bottom a little bit. We'll look at it again when this is finished. All right. Graphite. We'll try graphite in here. Too much. There we go. A little bit of graphite in there. We'll let that sit for a bit. Ooh, losing a stopper. All right, and we'll put some copper in this as well. Oh, that's a lot of copper. Let's do a little bit there. There we go. A little copper in that hexane. She looks pretty. Okay. And we'll try the aluminum. So aluminum in the hexane. Kind of see on the bottom there. We'll come back and look at it again. So there's aluminum. We'll do lead as well. Come on, lead. Oh, these little lead pellets like to run off the scoop. There we go. So there's lead. You can see those pellets kind of sitting down there in the bottom. And wax, and then finally we'll do NaCl after the wax. So the wax, drop, that's a lot. Let's just drop a little bit in there. And then let's drop a little wax in there. Let's get the wax in there. We'll let that sit for a little bit and we'll come look at it again. And last would be the NaCl. Uh-oh, lost my wax lid. Wax stopper. All right, for the NaCl, a little bit of NaCl in that. Just a little bit more. You can actually see it. So that's the salt and the stuff. You can kind of see the salt sitting on the bottom there. So let's go back and look at those after they sat for, it hasn't been very long, but we're looking to see if there are precipitates. In other words, did they dissolve in there? We're still seeing something left. And if we look at the calcium carbonate, you kind of see the separation there. We've still got solid on the bottom. You know, take your observations. What do you think? Did that dissolve in the isopropyl or not? And then same with the tartaric acid. If you look at the tartaric acid, see maybe a little bit in there, but quite a bit of it is, it's a lot less than what we started with. So anyway, all right. And then we'll also look at the graphite here, kind of cloudy. Say whether or not that's dissolving in there. The copper, I think I can still see copper sitting down there in the bottom. Yeah. Probably similar with the aluminum and the lead. If you look down the bottom for the aluminum, there's still a bunch of aluminum in there. Here's your lead shot. Down there on the bottom. Here is the wax. Still see some of that wax in there too. And then the table salt. Still see some salt in there. Now you're free to write, you know, slightly soluble or not soluble on there if you want. We just really want you to write your observations, what you think. Let us know what you think about what's going on. Here's calcium carbonate. It's just all settled there on the bottom. I can shake it all up, but you can kind of see it settling out on the bottom pretty quickly there. For the tartaric acid, still see that kind of down there on the bottom. And then the graphite. Ooh, look at the graphite in this. This is a little different, isn't it? So write down what you think's going on with that graphite. And then I got the copper. Well, that's easy. You can see that. There's the copper. Looking at the aluminum. Can you see it down the bottom? Yeah, aluminum down the bottom still. Lead, probably similar. Yeah, even hear it. Little lead shots down at the bottom. And then the wax, looks like there might actually be less wax in there than there was before. Well, there's your wax. Most of the small particles are gone, it's just that big particle that's sitting there. There's your wax. And then your NaCl, I still see quite a bit of salt sitting there on the bottom. So that's for the solubility of those two. I did forget there's one other thing we're going to do. We're actually going to do another video at the end about melting points, so you'll have to add that into your data chart, but that's all in the instructions. So we'll see you in the next video.